Keisha Munro stands in a steamy Miami courtroom, sweat beading on her brow, wrists chafed from tight cuffs, as a smug judge bangs his gavel, sentencing her to 5 years for a robbery she never touched. Officers Holt and Reese smirk from the gallery, savoring their win. Then her lawyer slams down proof she's a Pentagon cybersecurity chief. The room erupts, jaws drop, but the sentence sticks. How did a simple drive home ignite this firestorm? The answer's a twisted tale that'll rattle Miami and Keisha's future forever. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and if you stand for justice, hit like and subscribe, because tomorrow's explosive episode is one you can't miss. 3 nights before that sweaty courtroom showdown, Keisha Munro steered her Toyota Camry through Miami's sticky, neon-lit streets, the humid air thick enough to chew. At 38, she was a senior cybersecurity strategist at the Pentagon, a quiet powerhouse who'd clawed her way up from the cracked sidewalks of Overtown, where gunshots once doubled as lullabies. Tonight, she'd wrapped a late video briefing from her downtown office, her voice steady as she pitched encryption upgrades to stone-faced generals 800 miles away in D.C. Now, at 11, she was just a woman craving her bed, the city's, pulse fading in her rearview mirror. Biscayne Boulevard stretched ahead, a ribbon of asphalt flanked by swaying palms and garish billboards hawking cheap rum and cheaper dreams. Her car hummed, a modest hybrid she'd picked for its reliability, not flash, a choice that mirrored her life, understated, deliberate, built on grit. She wore a crisp blazer over a sleeveless top, her braids pulled into a tight bun, the faint glow of her dashboard clock her only company. The briefing had gone well, her mind replaying the nods from colonels who rarely cracked a smile, her proposal a lifeline against hackers probing America's defenses. She was good at this, damn good, and it felt like the universe finally saw her worth. Then blue lights flickered behind her, sharp and insistent, slicing through the night like a predator's glare. Keisha's stomach tightened, a reflex born from years of warnings whispered by her grandmother. Keep your hands where they can see, baby girl, and don't give 'em a reason. She checked her speedometer, 35 in a 40 zone, her E. Foot light on the pedal. No busted taillight, no weaving, just a clean drive on a quiet road. She flicked her turn signal, easing into the right lane, expecting the cruiser to roar past toward some real trouble. It didn't. The light stayed glued to her bumper, shadowing her every move. Her pulse quickened, but she kept her breath even, guiding the Camry onto the gravel shoulder, tires crunching against the edge of civilization. She cut the engine, rolled down her window, and planted both hands on the wheel, fingers splayed like a surrender she didn't feel. In the side mirror, 2 figures emerged from the patrol car, their silhouettes stretched long by headlights that bathed her in a harsh white glow. The first was tall, broad-shouldered, his stride cocky, badge glinting under the name Holt. The second, shorter, wiry, moved with a twitchy edge, his tag reading Reese. They approached like hunters, Holt on her left, Reese circling to the passenger side, their boots scuffing the dirt with lazy menace. Keisha's eyes flicked between them, her training kicking in. Stay calm, stay polite, stay alive. Good evening, officers, she said, her voice smooth as polished steel. The tone she'd honed briefing rooms full of skeptics. Is there a problem? Holt loomed at her window, his face a slab of granite under a buzz cut, eyes hidden behind mirrored shades despite the moon hanging high. License and registration, he barked, skipping the pleasantries, his drawl thick with something that wasn't just authority. Keisha nodded, slow and deliberate, reaching for her purse on the passenger seat. Yes, sir, she replied, keeping her movements telegraphed, no sudden jerks to spook them. She slid her license from its sleeve, then popped the glove box for the registration, her Pentagon ID tucked beneath it, a silent shield she didn't yet need to flash. She handed the papers over, her fingers brushing Holt's gloved hand, his grip snatching them like she'd offered contraband. He didn't glance at them, just stared, his jaw working a piece of gum with slow, deliberate chews. Reese, meanwhile, prowled the car's edge, his flashlight stabbing into the back seat, then the trunk like he was hunting a ghost. The silence stretched, taut and heavy, the whoosh of passing cars a distant hum against the thud of her heartbeat. "What's this about?" Keisha asked, her tone still measured, though a thread of unease wove through it. Holt tilted his head, a smirk tugging at his lips. "Stolen vehicle report, silver Camry, just like this one. You look like the type." The words landed like a slap, his gaze raking over her, lingering on her skin, her braids, her very existence. Keisha's chest tightened, but she swallowed the sting. "This is my car. I've got the title right here if you need it." She nodded toward the glove box again, her voice firm, facts her armor. Holt snorted, tossing her license to Reese without a glance. "We'll see about that. Step out." His hand rested on his holster, a casual threat she couldn't miss. Keisha's mind raced, weighing options, comply or question, safety or dignity. She chose the former, unbuckling her seatbelt with a soft click, pushing the door open and stepping onto the gravel, her flat sinking slightly into the uneven ground. The night air clung to her skin, damp and oppressive as she stood, hands loose at her sides, 5'6" of defiance wrapped in calm. Holt moved fast, too fast, his meaty hand clamping her arm, spinning her around before she could blink. "Against the car," he growled, shoving her forward. Her palms slapped the hood, the metal warm from the engine, her cheek grazing the paint as he yanked Tadagabo behind her back. Pain flared in her shoulder, a sharp jolt that stole her breath, but she bit her lip, refusing to cry out. Cold steel snapped around her wrists, cuffs biting into her flesh, too tight to be protocol, too cruel to be chance. "What the hell?" she gasped, twisting her head to see Holt's grin widen, a predator baring teeth. "Resisting already, huh?" he muttered, loud enough for Reese to hear. Reese didn't look up, too busy ripping into her trunk, tossing her gym bag onto the pavement, its zipper splitting open to spill a towel, sneakers, and a water bottle. He kicked at a stack of folders, work files stamped with Pentagon seals, their edges curling in the humidity. "Nothing here," he called, his voice flat, almost disappointed. Holt tightened the cuffs, grinding them deeper, a low chuckle rumbling in his throat. "Don't matter. She's trouble. Look at her, thinking she's somebody." He leaned close, his breath hot on her ear, sour with coffee and spite. "Ain't nobody out here to save you, girl." The slur slipped out, casual and venomous, a match tossed on dry grass. Keisha's blood boiled, but she locked it down, her mind spinning through years of drills. Don't escalate. Don't give them the excuse. She'd faced down generals who'd underestimated her, cracked codes that stumped PhDs, but this was different, primal, a fight she couldn't win with logic. Reese slammed the trunk shut, dusting his hands like he'd touched filth. "Clean, but she's still got that attitude," he said, stepping closer, his flashlight blinding her for a second before he flicked it off. Holt jerked her upright, her shoulders screaming, the cuffs carving red grooves into her wrists. "You're coming with us," he said, dragging her toward the cruiser, her feet stumbling to keep up. Keisha's eyes darted to her car, her purse, still on the seat, her phone inside it, her lifeline to the world beyond this nightmare. "I've got rights," she said, firm but not loud, testing the water. Holt laughed, a harsh bark that echoed off the boulevard. "Rights? Out here, I'm the rights." He shoved her against the patrol car's door, her hip banging the handle, a bruise blooming under her slacks. Reese opened the back, and Holt pushed her in, her head ducking low, the vinyl seat sticky against her palms as she slid across it. The door slammed, locking her in a cage of flashing lights and stale air, the radio crackling with static. Through the window she saw Holt pocket her keys, Reese snagging her purse like a trophy. They climbed in front, the cruiser lurching forward, tires spitting gravel as they peeled onto the road. Keisha sat, cuffed and silent, her mind racing. This wasn't a mix-up, not with that slur, that shove, that gleam in Holt's eye. It was personal, racial, a power trip she'd walked into blind. Her Pentagon badge, her rank, her life, all invisible to them, reduced to the color of her skin in their headlights. She thought of her grandmother's warnings, her mother's prayers, the promotions she'd earned through sleepless nights. 3 nights from now she'd stand in a courtroom, sentenced for nothing, but right now she was just a woman in the dark, the city blurring past, wondering how deep this hole would go. The cuffs bit harder with every bump, a promise of worse to come, and Keisha knew this stop was only the beginning. The Miami precinct swallowed Keisha Monroe whole. Its fluorescent buzz and stale coffee stench, a far cry from the sleek Pentagon corridors she knew. The cruiser's back seat had left her shoulders cramped, the cuffs gouging her wrists raw as Officers Holt and Reese hauled her through the glass doors, their grips iron on her arms. Her blazer hung crooked, one sleeve torn from Holt's shove, her braids loosening like a fraying lifeline. The booking desk loomed ahead, a scratched counter manned by a bored sergeant with a buzz cut and a mustard-stained tie, his eyes flicking over her like she was yesterday's trash. Holt tossed her purse onto the counter, her Pentagon ID spilling. Out beside her wallet, its gold seal catching the light. "Resisting arrest," he declared, his voice a gravelly boast, loud enough for the handful of night shift cops to turn and smirk. Reese nodded, arms crossed, his wiry frame buzzing with smug energy. "Swung at him like a wildcat," he added, his lie sliding out smooth as oil. Keisha's jaw tightened, her pulse hammering, but she kept her face stone. "That's not true," she said, her tone clipped, the same one she used to shut down doubting colonels. "Check the dashcam," I complied. The sergeant glanced at her, then at Holt, shrugging like truth was optional. "We'll sort it later," he muttered, tapping at a grimy keyboard. Keisha's mind spun. How could they twist this so fast? Was her skin the only evidence they needed? She stood there, 5'6" of coiled fury, as they snapped her mugshot, the flash blinding her, her eyes locked forward, refusing to flinch. The ink pad came next, her fingers pressed hard into the black smear, each print a mark of shame she didn't earn. Holt leaned close, his gum snapping in her ear. "Fancy job don't mean squat here, sweetheart," he sneered, snatching her ID, flipping it like a cheap card trick, before tossing it back into her purse. Reese chuckled, rifling through her bag, pulling out her phone and a pack of gum, pocketing the latter like a petty thief. "Pentagon, huh? Sounds like a lie to me," he said, his flashlight still dangling from his belt, a trophy from the stop. Keisha's chest burned, but she swallowed it, her training screaming, "Stay cool, stay sharp." "Call my supervisor," she said, nodding at her phone. "Colonel Darius Vance. He'll confirm who I am." The sergeant sighed, fishing the phone from Reese's grip, but Holt snatched it first, smirking as he powered it off. "We'll get to that," he said, tossing it into a plastic bin with her purse. "First, you sit." They marched her to a holding cell, a concrete box with a metal bench bolted to the floor, the air thick with sweat and despair. The door clanged shut, locking her in with a flickering bulb and a drunk snoring in the corner. Keisha sank onto the bench, her cuffed hands awkward in her lap, the steel cutting deeper with every shift. She replayed the stop, the lights, the shove, the slur. Could she have said something different? Would it have mattered? Her Pentagon badge, her rank, her life, all reduced to a punchline in their game. She needed Vance, her rock, the man who'd mentored her since her first encryption gig. He'd know how to pull her out. She closed her eyes, counting breaths, willing the panic down. An hour crawled by, the drunk snores a grating rhythm when the door swung open. The sergeant waved her out, no explanation, just a grunt. "You're failed," he said, uncuffing her with a lazy twist, her wrists blooming red and purple. Keisha rubbed them, relief flooding her, questions piling up. Who posted it? How did Vance move so fast? She stepped into the lobby, her purse shoved into her arms, her phone dead in its depths. She powered it on, the screen flaring to life, a missed call from Vance glowing like a lifeline. She dialed back, her voice steady despite the tremor in her gut. "Colonel, it's me," she said when he picked up, his gruff tone cutting through the static. "Keisha, what in God's name happened?" he barked, his worry sharp. She briefed him, the stop, the cuffs, the lies, her words clipped and fast. "I'm out now, but they're claiming I resisted." "It's bull, sir," Vance growled, a sound she knew meant war. "I'll be there by morning. Logs from your briefing tonight prove you were working. This ends now." Keisha exhaled, a sliver of hope piercing the fog. Could he really fix this? Was this nightmare over? She hung up, pocketing the phone, her flat scuffing the precinct's chipped tile as she headed for the exit. Freedom loomed, the night air a promise beyond the glass. Then the doors burst open, Holt and Reese storming back in, their faces twisted, with fresh venom. Behind them shuffled a scrawny white guy, his clerk's apron stained with grease, his eyes darting like a trapped rat. "That's her," he stammered, pointing at Keisha, his finger trembling. "She robbed my store tonight. Took $50 and a case of beer." Keisha froze, her breath catching, the lobby spinning. "What?" she snapped, stepping forward, her voice rising. "I've never seen you. I was in a meeting." Holt grinned, a shark scenting blood, while Reese grabbed her arm, twisting it back. "Guess you're a busy lady," Holt said, his shades glinting under the lights. "Back in cuffs you go." The sergeant blinked, confused, but didn't stop them as they slapped the steel back on, tighter this time, the metal grinding her bruises. Keisha's mind reeled. Who was this clown? Why was he lying? She glared at him, his twitchy gaze sliding away, sweat beading on his brow. Holt leaned in, his whisper a blade. "Told you, girl, you ain't walking away." Reese shoved her toward the cell again, the drunk now awake, leering as she stumbled past. The door slammed, the lock clicked, and Keisha sank back onto the bench, her victory snatched in seconds. Her phone buzzed in the bin outside, Vance's call unreachable, her freedom a cruel tease. She stared at the wall, the clerk's face burned into her skull. Was he paid? Scared? Both? The dash cam would clear her, wouldn't it? But Holt's smirk, Reese's grip, told her they'd stacked the deck. This wasn't a mix-up anymore, it was a hunt, and she was the prey, her skin the bullseye. How far would they push this? Could Vance pull her out before it broke her? The cell's chill seeped into her bones, the night stretching endless, and Keisha knew the real fight was just beginning. Drop a comment with "number 1" if you think these cops deserve to rot for framing her, or "number 2" if you'd fight back like Keisha. Hit that like button if you're raging at this injustice, and subscribe because tomorrow's twist will flip everything you thought you knew. Was this clerk a pawn or a player? How deep does this trap go? Stick around because the next move's a shocker you won't see coming. Keisha Monroe woke to the buzz of her phone vibrating against the precinct's plastic bin, her body stiff from the cell's metal bench, her wrists throbbing under swollen bruises. The drunk in the corner had passed out again, his snores a dull, raw as sunlight crept through the slit of a window, painting the concrete in weak stripes. She'd barely slept, her mind churning over the clerk's lie, Holt's smirk, Reese's grip, the cuffs that turned her bail into a cruel joke. The cell door rattled open, the same bored sergeant from last night shuffling in, his tie now crooked, mustard stain darker. "You're out," he grunted, tossing her purse onto the bench, her dead phone sliding out with a clatter. Charges dropped. For now. Keisha blinked, her heart lurching, suspicion coiling tight. Dropped? Why? She asked, her voice hoarse, scraping past the dryness in her throat. The sergeant shrugged, already turning away. "Ask your fancy friend. He's outside." She grabbed her things, her flat scuffing the floor as she stumbled into the lobby, the air buzzing with a new energy, sharp and electric. Colonel Darius Vance stood there, 6 feet of steel in a crisp suit, his salt and pepper beard framing a scowl that could melt steel. His eyes locked on her, scanning her torn blazer, her raw wrists, fury simmering beneath his calm. "Keisha," he said, his voice low, an anchor in the storm. "You good?" She nodded, though her legs wobbled, relief and rage warring inside her. "What happened?" she asked, clutching her purse like a shield. Vance's jaw tightened. "I pulled strings. Got your briefing logs to the DA. You were on that call at 8, nowhere near that store, clerk's stories crumbling." Keisha exhaled, a shaky breath, her mind racing to catch up. Before she could ask more, the precinct doors swung wide. A blast of humid Miami air ushering in a swarm of noise. Shouts, clicks, the hum of live mics. Reporters flooded the lobby, cameras flashing, voices overlapping in a frantic chorus. "Miss Monroe, is it true you're Pentagon?" Was this racial profiling? Any comment on the arrest? Keisha froze, her pulse spiking, the glare blinding her. Vance stepped in front, his arm a barricade. "Back off," he snapped, guiding her through the crush, her head ducking as mics jabbed at her face. Outside, the morning sun scorched the pavement, news vans clogging the street, their antennas piercing the sky. Headlines were already screaming online, her mugshot plastered beside her Pentagon title, "Black Woman Jailed in Robbery Mix-Up." Her stomach twisted, the world spinning too fast. Vance hustled her into a black SUV, the door slamming shut, muffling the chaos. "How'd they get this so quick?" she asked, her voice tight, fingers digging into the leather seat. Vance's eyes darkened. "Someone leaked it. Your ID, your job, it's viral now." Keisha sank back, her dead phone buzzing to life in her lap as she plugged it into the charger, notifications piling up. Colleagues, cousins, strangers, all buzzing about her face on every screen. The SUV rolled through Miami's clogged arteries, palms swaying in the breeze, the city oblivious to her unraveling life. Vance briefed her, his tone clipped. "I tracked that clerk, scrawny kid, works at a bodega off 8th. Admitted Holt slipped him $50 to point you out. He's recanting to the DA now." Keisha's chest loosened, a spark of hope flaring. "So it's over?" she asked, her eyes searching his. Vance nodded, a rare half-smile breaking through. "Should be. Evidence is solid. You're free." The SUV pulled up to her Overtown apartment, a squat brick building dwarfed by new condos, her sanctuary after years of grinding. She stepped out, the air thick with salt and exhaust, her keys jangling in her shaky hand. Vance promised to update her, then peeled away, leaving her alone on the cracked sidewalk. Inside, she locked the door, her flat a cocoon of muted colors, teal couch, wood shelves, a framed photo of her grinning at her master's graduation, her mom's arm around her. She sank into the cushions, the silence deafening after the precinct's clamor. Her phone kept buzzing, news alerts stacking up. Pentagon official cleared in bizarre arrest. She scrolled, relief washing over her, the nightmare fading like, a bad dream. Could she really be done? Was justice that fast? She kicked off her flats, her bruised wrists catching the light, a reminder of Holt's hands, Reese's lies. She'd shower, sleep, reclaim her life. Then the TV flickered on, a reflex from grabbing the remote, and her breath caught. A local station blared her name, a grainy video filling the screen, her face, her voice confessing to the robbery in a shaky clip. "I took the cash, the beer, everything," the fake Keisha said, her eyes wild, her braids swinging. Keisha's stomach dropped, her phone slipping from her grip, cracking against the hardwood. The anchor's voice droned. "New evidence in the Monroe case raises questions. Sources say this surfaced hours ago, posted anonymously online." Her heart pounded, the room tilting. This wasn't her. She'd never said that. How did they fake this? Who had the tech, the gall? She stumbled to her laptop, fingers trembling as she pulled up the clip. It was seamless, her face stitched onto some stranger's body, her voice warped but close enough to fool a crowd. Views ticked up, 10,000, 20, 50. Comments flooded in. "Liar! Thief! Lock her up!" Her phone buzzed. Again a text from her neighbor, Ms. Lila. "Girl, they're outside." Keisha peeked through the blinds, her breath hitching. A mob clogged the street. 30, 40 people. Mostly white faces twisted with rage, chanting, "Thief, thief!" Eggs splattered her window, yolk streaking the glass, a brick thudding against the brick wall below. She ducked, her pulse a drumbeat, the crowd's roar shaking her bones. Signs bobbed in the chaos. "Justice for the store! No special treatment!" She grabbed her phone, dialing Vance, her voice a whisper as it rang. "Colonel, they've got a fake video. People are..." "Here, they're losing it." His reply crackled, sharp with alarm. "Stay put, I'm sending security, don't open the door." She hung up, crouching low, the chants growing louder, a bottle shattering somewhere close. Her mind raced, piecing it together. Holt, it had to be Holt. Furious she'd slipped his net, he'd cooked this up, a digital dagger to her throat. The clerk's recant hadn't stopped him, it had lit a fuse. She crawled to her kitchen, peering out the back window. A patrol car idled across the lot. Holt's silhouette slouched in the driver's seat, his shades catching the streetlight, his grin a slash of white. He wasn't here to help. He was here to watch her burn. Keisha's fists clenched, her nails biting her palms, fury surging past the fear. She'd cleared her name once, hadn't she? She'd walked out free, hadn't she? But this was bigger, uglier, a racist tidal wave crashing over her life. The crowd swelled, a man in a red cap hurling a rock that cracked her front doors. Glass panel, splinters raining inside. She grabbed a kitchen knife not to fight, just to feel something solid, her breath ragged as footsteps thumped closer. Sirens wailed in the distance, Vance's cavalry, but the mob didn't care, their voices a wall of hate. "Get out, crook! You don't belong here." Her apartment, her haven, was a cage now, the video a match tossed on dry hate. How? Had Holt pulled this off so fast? Who'd helped him twist her truth? She thought of her mum's pride, her Pentagon badge, all drowning in this lie. The sirens grew louder, red and blue flashing through the blinds, but the crowd pressed on. A woman's scream cutting through. "She thinks she's above us!" Keisha's eyes stung. Tears she wouldn't let fall, her grip tightening on the knife. Freedom had lasted hours, justice a flicker snuffed out by Holt's vengeance, his racism a beast with endless teeth. She'd survived the stop, the cell, but this was war now, and Keisha knew the battlefield had just widened, the stakes climbing higher with every shattered pane. Keisha Monroe barely slept, the echoes of the mob's chant still rattling her skull as dawn broke over Miami, the sky a bruised purple through her cracked blinds. Her Overtown apartment reeked of smoke and fear, the front door's glass panel a jagged wound, egg yolk crusting the windowsill. She'd gripped that kitchen knife until Vance's security team arrived, their boots pounding the stairs, scattering the crowd like roaches under a flicked light. Holt's patrol car had vanished by then, his taunting silhouette a ghost in the lot. Now at 7, she stood in her bathroom, splashing cold water on her face, her bruised wrist screaming under the faucet's sting. Her blazer hung in tatters, her braids a mess, but she pulled on a fresh suit, navy and sharp, her armor for the day. She had to get back to work, reclaim her ground at the Pentagon's Miami field office, prove this nightmare hadn't broken. Her Toyota was still impounded from the stop, so she called a ride, the driver's eyes widening at her address, the street now infamous from last night's news. The field office loomed downtown, a squat concrete fortress ringed by palm trees, its tinted windows reflecting the city's haze. Keisha strode in, her badge swiping her through security, expecting nods from colleagues, maybe a quiet word of support. Instead, silence greeted her, thick and cold, heads turning away as she crossed the open-plan floor. Her cubicle waited, a stack of files untouched, her monitor dark. She logged in, her fingers trembling slightly, the screen flaring with an email. From HR, security clearance suspended pending review. Her breath caught, a punch to the gut. Suspended? After everything? She scanned the message, her heart sinking. Due to recent public allegations, your clearance is under investigation. Report to Director Patel immediately. Keisha's mind raced, the fake video's shadow stretching into her sanctum. How could they doubt her now? Hadn't Vance cleared this? She grabbed her phone, texting him. "Clearance gone. What's happening?" His reply buzzed fast. "On it. Stay calm." She stood, her legs unsteady, and marched to Patel's office, her flats silent on the carpet. The director, a wiry man with a perpetual frown, sat behind a desk cluttered with memos, his eyes flicking up as she entered. "Miss Monroe," he said, his voice flat, "this video's a PR disaster. Brass upstairs want distance until it's sorted." Keisha's fists balled at her sides, her voice steady despite the fire inside. "It's fake. Colonel Vance proved I'm clean," the clerk recanted. Patel sighed, rubbing his temples. "Doesn't matter. Perception's the issue. You're a liability now." Liability. The word stung, a slap from the system she'd served for years. She thought of her late-night coding sessions, the threats she'd neutralized, the lives her work protected. Was that all trash now? She leaned forward, her palms pressing the desk. "I'm not the problem. The cops who framed me are." Patel's frown deepened, but before he could reply, her phone buzzed again. "Vance, found something. Meet me in 30. She left Patel's office, her chest tight, colleagues' whispers trailing her like smoke. Vance waited in a conference room, his suit rumpled, a laptop open before him. "Keisha," he said, sliding a printout across the table. "Holt's got a cousin, Jeremy Tate, works here as a file clerk. He accessed your personnel file last week, leaked it to brass with a note tying it to the video. Keisha's eyes narrowed, scanning the paper. Tate's ID photo. A doughy kid with Holt's smirk. Timestamps of her file's breach. "He's family," she said, her voice low, fury simmering. "Holt's hitting me from inside." Vance nodded, his jaw tight. "I've got him cornered. Filed a complaint. Hearing set for tomorrow to reinstate you." Keisha exhaled, a flicker of hope reigniting. Could this flip it? Would they see the setup? The next day she sat in a sterile boardroom, Vance at her side, 3 suits across the table. Patel, a general, and an HR rep, their faces carved from stone. Vance laid it out, his voice a hammer. Logs, Tate's breach, the clerk's recant. "She's clean," he finished, slamming the printout down. The general shifted, his medals glinting. "Tate's suspended, evidence checks out, clearance restored." Keisha's shoulders loosened, a rare smile tugging her lips. She'd won, hadn't she? The suits filed out, Patel muttering apologies, and Vance clapped her shoulder. "Back to work, soldier." She returned to her cubicle, her monitor alive again, emails flooding in, her world writing itself. She'd beaten Holt's inside play, reclaimed her place. The day blurred into code and calls, her focus sharp, the nightmare receding. At 6, she locked her desk, the office emptying, the sun dipping low over Miami's skyline. She stepped outside, the air sticky, her ride idling at the curb. Home called, a shower, a meal, peace. Then a crash shattered the dusk, glass exploding inward at her apartment 3 miles away. She didn't hear it, didn't see it, not yet. She climbed into the car, her phone buzzing with a neighbor's call, Ms. Lila's voice shrill when she answered. "Keisha, get here quick. Someone threw a bottle, it's burning." Keisha's heart stopped, her driver peeling out as she barked the address, her mind a whirlwind. Burning? Who? How? The ride was a blur, tires squealing, her nails digging into her palms. She arrived to chaos, flames licking her living room window, smoke billowing black, neighbors gawking from the sidewalk. She leapt out, her flats pounding pavement, the heat hitting her face as she neared. A Molotov cocktail, its shards glinting in the grass, a scorched note taped to a brick. "Leave or burn." Her couch blazed, her books curling to ash, her sanctuary gutted. She stumbled back, coughing, her eyes stinging with smoke and rage. Sirens wailed, fire trucks rolling in, hoses blasting, but the damage was done. Her phone buzzed, Vance again. "Where are you?" She choked out the scene, her voice cracking. "They torched my place, Colonel, right after the hearing." His silence was heavy then. "I'm coming." She hung up, staring at the inferno, her victory ashes in her mouth. Then she saw it, across the lot, a patrol car idling in the shadows. Lights off, Holt's bulk unmistakable behind the wheel. He didn't move, didn't help, just watched, his shades aglint in the firelight, his grin a slash of triumph. Keisha's fists clenched, her nails drawing blood, fury drowning the fear. She'd won at the Pentagon, hadn't she? Cleared her name, kept her job, beaten his cousin's play. But this was Holt's answer, a racist torch to her life, his refusal, to lose a venomous roar. The firefighters shouted, water arcing into the blaze, but Keisha's eyes locked on Holt, his car creeping away as the crowd thickened. How had he known she'd be out? Who'd helped him time this? Her apartment, her roots, her safety all crumbling in flames, and she knew this wasn't the end, just a louder shot in his war. She'd survived the video, the mob. But this was personal, a strike at her soul, and Keisha felt the battlefield shift, the stakes soaring higher with every crackling ember. Drop a comment with number 1 if you think Holt's a coward for burning her out, or number 2 if Keisha's strength has you cheering. Smash that like button if this racist revenge has you boiling, and subscribe because tomorrow's episode unleashes a fight you won't believe. Who's backing Holt's next move? Can Keisha strike back from the ashes? Stay tuned because the heat's just getting started. Keisha Monroe stood amidst the smoldering ruin of her Overtown apartment, the acrid sting of charred wood and melted plastic clawing at her throat. Firefighters coiled their hoses, water pooling in blackened puddles, her teal couch a soggy skeleton, her books reduced to soggy ash. The Molotov's note, "Leave or burn," lay crumpled in an evidence bag, its scorched edges a taunt Holt had left behind. She'd watched his patrol car slink away last night, his grin a blade in the firelight, and now at 9 in the morning, her navy suit was streaked with soot, her braids damp with sweat. Colonel Vance arrived, his SUV screeching to a halt, his face a storm cloud as he surveyed the wreckage. "Keisha," he said, his voice gravelly, stepping over a shattered lamp, "this ends today." She nodded, her jaw tight, fury simmering beneath her exhaustion. "He won't stop, Colonel. I'm suing them. Holt, Reese, the whole damn precinct." Vance's eyes gleamed, a soldier scenting battle. "Good. I've got your back." She called Tamika Brooks that hour, a lawyer she'd met at a Pentagon gala, her voice like thunder over the phone. "Keisha, I'm in," Tamika said, her tone sharp with purpose. "We'll bury them." By noon, Keisha sat in Tamika's office, a sleek downtown suite with glass walls and a view of Miami's glittering bay. Tamika, 40, all tailored blazer, and coiled dreads, spread files across her desk. Dashcam stills, the clerks recant Tate's confession. "We've got racial profiling, false arrest, conspiracy," she said, tapping each page with a manicured nail. "Holt's cousin ties it to the Pentagon hit. This is systemic." Keisha's chest tightened, hope flickering through the rage. Could this nail them? Would it stick? Tamika filed the suit that afternoon, a federal claim against Holt, Reese, and Miami PD, demanding millions and their badges. Evidence piled high, Vance's logs, the fake video's metadata, Holt's patrol log placing him at her street during the fire. Keisha watched the courthouse clerk stamp the papers, her flats, scuffing the marble, a weight lifting off her bruised wrists. Days blurred into weeks, Tamika's team digging deeper, unearthing gold. The precinct caved fast, their lawyers sweating in a mediation room, a beige box with flickering lights. "We'll settle," their chief said, a balding man with a nervous tick, shoving a deal across the table. $50,000 Holt and Reese suspended without pay for 6 months. Tamika smirked, her pen hovering. "Not enough, but it's a start." Keisha signed, her hand steady, the ink a small victory. Suspension wasn't jail, but it stung them, didn't it? She left the room, the chief avoiding her gaze, Tamika's heels clicking beside her. "They're bleeding," Tamika said, her voice low. "Next we push harder." Keisha stepped into the humid afternoon, the bay's breeze cooling her skin, her phone buzzing with texts from Vance. "Congrats. You're winning." She smiled, a rare crack in her armor, the settlement a foothold, a sign she could fight and stand. Holt and Reese were sidelined, their power clipped, her life inching back to normal. She'd moved to a safe house days ago, a bland condo near the field office, its beige walls a blank slate, her burned belongings replaced with thrift store finds, a grey sofa, a chipped mug. She'd slept there last night, the first real rest since the stop, dreaming of her mom's proud grin instead of Holt's sneer. Now, at 5, she walked to the office, her badge gleaming, her clearance restored, ready to bury herself in code, reclaim her world. The building's glass doors slid open, her flat silent on the tile, the hum of keyboards a balm. She'd won a round, hadn't she? The lawsuit had teeth, the precinct flinched, and she was still standing. Then the ground shook, a deafening crash ripping through the lobby, glass exploding inward like a shotgun blast. Keisha dove behind a pillar, her heart slamming her ribs, screams echoing as shards rained down. She peeked out, her breath ragged, the front windows gone, a brick skittering across the floor, its red surface scrawled with "Black Bitch Out." Her stomach lurched, bile rising, the air thick with dust and panic. Security swarmed, radios crackling, colleagues scrambling under desks, a woman clutching a bleeding arm. Keisha crawled to the wall, her suit ripping at the knee, her eyes scanning the chaos. Outside, a mob roared, 50 strong, faces twisted with hate, fists pumping signs. "No justice for liars." "Pentagon protects thieves," tires screeched. A pickup peeling away, its bed packed with shouting men, one hurling a bottle that smashed against the frame. She squinted, her pulse a drumbeat, spotting a familiar figure in the throng. Reese's brother, Jamal, a local radio host with a buzz cut and a megaphone, his voice booming over the din. "She framed good cops, run her out." The crowd surged, rocks flying, a second window buckling with a groan. Keisha's mind spun, connecting dots. Reese, suspended, hadn't quit. He'd unleashed this, his kin a proxy for his rage. Security locked the building down, steel shutters slamming over the shattered panes, plunging the lobby into shadow. Keisha stumbled to a stairwell, her phone buzzing, Vance's name flashing. "You hurt?" he barked when she answered, his voice tight. "No, but they're here, Colonel. A mob. Reese's brothers leading it." Vance cursed, loud and raw. "Get to the bunker. I'm en route." She ran, her flats pounding concrete, reaching the basement, a steel vault with humming servers and a single chair. The door sealed behind her, the mob's roar muffled, her breath heaving as she sank against the wall. Glass crunched under her, shoes her knee bleeding through the tear, her suit a wreck again. She'd won the settlement, hadn't she? Clipped their wings, forced their hand. But this was their answer, a racist horde at her doorstep, Reese's revenge a wildfire she couldn't outrun. Her phone lit up, a news alert. Pentagon office attacked after controversial lawsuit. Footage rolled, Jamal's megaphone blaring. The crowd's hate a living thing. She scrolled, her hands shaking, comments piling up. She deserved it. Cops were right. Her chest burned, fury drowning the fear. How had Reese rallied this so fast? Who'd fed them her location? She thought of the settlement, the suspension, the chief's nervous tick, all crumbling under this assault. The bunker's hum steadied her, her mind sharpening, a plan forming. She'd survived the fire, the video, and she'd survive this, wouldn't she? But the mob's chants seeped through, a promise of more. And Keisha knew Holt was out there too, his shadow looming, his racism a beast with endless claws. Security radios crackled outside, Vance's voice barking orders, but the mob didn't fade, their fury a wall she couldn't breach. The lawsuit had struck a blow, sure, but this was war now. A public lynching in broad daylight, and Keisha felt the ground shift again, the stakes soaring with every shattered pane. Her safe house, her job, her fight, all teetering on this edge, and she gripped her phone, her lifeline, wondering how deep this hate ran, how much more they'd throw before she broke. Keisha Monroe crouched in the Pentagon field office bunker, the steel walls humming around her, her torn suit smeared with dust and blood from her scraped knee. The mob's roars faded to a dull throb as security locked down the building, glass, shards glinting on the floor above, the air thick with the echo of Jamal's megaphone. Her phone glowed in her hand, Vance's last words looping in her skull. "Get to the bunker. I'm en route." She'd made it, her flats slick with sweat, her breath steadying as the chaos retreated. Reese's brother had turned her win into a war zone, the lawsuit's sting a match to his racist fire. She stood, brushing grit from her palms, her mind racing. Could she outlast this? Would Vance's cavalry turn the tide? The bunker door hissed. "Open." A guard waving her out, his face tight. "Colonel's here, you're clear." She climbed the stairs, her legs shaky, emerging into a lobby strewn with debris, security sweeping up glass, colleagues whispering behind hands. Vance waited by the shattered doors, his suit wrinkled, his beard bristling with fury. "Keisha, you're not staying here," he said, his voice a low growl. "I've got a safe house north side, move now." She nodded, no argument, her apartment's ashes still burned into her retinas. The SUV rolled out, Vance driving. Miami's dusk smearing the windows with orange and pink. The safe house a squat bungalow in Coconut Grove, its stucco walls hidden by overgrown hibiscus. Inside, it smelled of bleach and mothballs. A bare mattress. In the bedroom, a thrift store lamp flickering on the counter. "It's temporary," Vance said, handing her a burner phone. "Rest, we'll hit back tomorrow." Keisha sank onto the mattress, her body aching, the settlement's 50,000 a hollow echo against the mob's hate. She slept, fitful and shallow, dreaming of Holt's grin, Reese's grip, the fire swallowing her books. Morning broke, humid and grey, her phone buzzing with Tamika's number. "Keisha, we've got dirt," the lawyer said, her voice electric. "Holt's got 5 brutality complaints, all buried by the precinct. I'm setting a sting." Keisha's pulse quickened, a spark igniting. Could this finish him? Would it stick? She met Tamika at a dive bar off Flagler, a sticky joint with peeling paint and a jukebox crooning old salsa. Tamika slid her a mic, tiny and sleek, wired to a recorder. He drinks here Fridays. Get him talking. Keisha nodded, her navy suit swapped for jeans and a hoodie, her braids tucked under a cap blending into the dim crowd. At 8, Holt swaggered in, off duty, his shades swapped for a trucker hat, his bulk filling a corner booth. She sidled, close, nursing a soda, the mic taped under her sleeve. Heard you're the man who took down that Pentagon chick, she said, her voice low, baiting him. Holt grinned, his teeth yellowed, a beer bottle sweating in his fist. Damn right, framed her good. She thinks she's smart, but I've got her running scared. Keisha's stomach twisted, rage simmering, but she kept her face blank, nodding, like a fan. How'd you pull that? She pressed, casual, her heart pounding. Holt leaned in, his breath sour. Clark was easy money. Video was a buddy's tech trick. She's done. The recorder hummed, his words gold. Tamika's plan. Clicking into place. Keisha slipped out, her flat silent on the tile, texting Tamika. Got it. By midnight, the tape hit the news, Tamika leaking it to every station, Holt's voice blaring. Framed her good. The precinct reeled, the chief's face pale on TV, announcing Holt's resignation, effective immediately. Keisha watched. From the safe house, the lamps flicker casting shadows on the wall, her chest loosening. One down, right? Reese was still out there, but Holt's fall felt like a crack in their armor. She texted Vance, he's gone. His reply buzzed fast. Good work, sleep tonight. She did, the mattress less punishing, her dreams lighter, her mom's voice whispering pride instead of Holt's taunts. She woke at 6, the air thick with rain, her burner buzzing with Vance's call. You're clear to move back. Office is secure. She packed her few things, a duffel from the thrift store, her suit folded inside, ready to reclaim her life. The bungalow's quiet felt like a win, Holt's resignation a brick pulled from his wall. She stepped outside, the rain a soft patter, her ride idling at the curb. Could this be over? Was Reese too weak to fight alone? She climbed in, the driver silent, the city waking around her. Back at the field office, she'd code, rebuild, let the lawsuit's echo fade. The drive was smooth, her mind drifting to her next project, a firewall tweak she'd pitched months ago. Then the world exploded, tires screeching as a black van cut them off. Doors flying open, SWAT pouring out, rifles up, shouting, hands up, now! Keisha froze, her driver ducking, her duffel tumbling to the floor. A battering ram slammed her, door glass shattering, gloved hands yanking her out, her knees hitting pavement, rain soaking her hoodie. Keisha Monroe, you're under arrest, a masked officer barked, cuffs snapping tight, her wrists screaming anew. Her mind blanked, panic clawing her throat. For what? She yelled, her voice cracking, rain stinging her eyes. Armed robbery last night, he said, dragging her to a van, her flats scraping asphalt. Confessions on tape. Keisha's heart stopped, the world tilting, her breath a rasp. Confession. She'd been here, alone, safe. They shoved her inside, the van lurching forward, her head banging the wall, the team's shouts a blur. At the precinct, they played it, a crackling call on a screen, her voice shaky. I hit the gas station on 10th, took the cash, gun in hand. Her jaw dropped, bile rising, the room spinning. It wasn't her. Couldn't be. She'd slept. Hadn't she? The SWAT leader smirked, his badge reading Carter, his eyes cold. Caught you this time. Keisha's mind raced, Holt's bar brag echoing. Video was a buddy's tech trick. Reese, he'd done this, cloned her phone, faked her voice with AI, his suspension fueling a deeper cut. She glared at Carter, her voice steel. That's not me. Check my phone, my location. He shrugged, tossing her into a cell, the door slamming, her duffel confiscated. She sank onto the bench, rain dripping from her hair, the concrete chilling her bones. Holt was gone, sure, his tape her sword, but Reese had struck back, a ghost with tech and spite, turning her win into a cage. She'd nailed one, hadn't she? Watched him fall, felt the ground steady. Now this. A lie so slick it fooled SWAT. Her freedom snatched in a heartbeat. Her burner buzzed in the evidence bin. Vance's call unreachable. Her safe house a memory torched by Reese's hate. How had he rigged this so fast? Who'd built that AI? She thought of the lawsuit, the mob, the fire, all dwarfed by this trap. Her wrists bleeding again. The cell a mirror of night one. Reese wasn't done, his racism a hydra, and Keisha knew the fight had twisted darker, the stakes spiking with every fake word. Drop a comment with number 1 if you think Reese's tech trick is pure evil, or number 2 if Keisha's resilience has you hooked. Smash that like button if this frame-up has you fuming, and subscribe because tomorrow's episode drops a twist that'll blow your mind. Can Keisha hack her way out of this lie? What's Reese cooking next? Hang tight, because this roller coaster's just hitting its peak. Keisha Monroe sat in the precinct cell, the concrete bench numbing her legs, rain-soaked hoodie clinging to her skin like a second layer of defeat. The SWAT raid still echoed in her skull, the fake confession's warped voice looping, "I hit the gas station on 10th. Her wrists throbbed under fresh cuffs, the steel grinding her bruises raw, her duffel locked in an evidence bin with her burner phone, Vance's lifeline out of reach. The cell's flickering bulb buzzed overhead, casting jagged shadows, the air sour with mildew and despair. She'd taken Holt down, his bar brag a bullet to his career, but Reese had flipped the board, his AI trick a noose around her neck. She leaned against the wall, her breath shallow, mind racing. Could she prove this? Would anyone listen? The precinct hummed beyond the bars, officers shuffling papers, their voices a low drone. Carter's smirk burned into her memory. Then the door clanged, a guard's boots scuffing the floor, his face blank. "Monroe, move," he said, uncuffing her with a twist, her wrists screaming as the steel fell away. "You're out. Someone's pulling strings." Keisha stood, her legs wobbly, suspicion coiling tight. "Who?" she asked, her voice rough, scraping past the dryness in her throat. The guard shrugged, handing her the duffel, her burner buzzing inside. "Ask him." She stumbled to the lobby, the fluorescent glare stinging her eyes, spotting Vance by the desk, his suit crumpled, his beard a storm of grey. "Keisha," he said, his tone sharp, stepping close. "We've got 10 minutes. Follow me." She nodded, no questions, her flat slapping tile as they bolted to his SUV, the night air thick with rain and exhaust. The engine roared, tires spitting gravel, Miami's neon blur streaking past. "SWAT's call came from a burner," Vance said, his eyes on the road, hands tight on the wheel. "I traced it to a dead end, but your office logs show you were offline all night. You're clear, but they're not dropping it yet." Keisha's chest loosened, a breath escaping. "Reese faked it," she said, digging her burner from the duffel, its screen cracked but alive. "AI voice clone, he's not stopping." Vance's jaw clenched, a vein pulsing in his neck. "Then we end him, safe house again, north side. You're off-grid till we nail this." The SUV cut through Coconut Grove, back to the stucco bungalow, its hibiscus a dark shroud under the storm. Inside, Keisha sank onto the mattress, her hoodie peeling off, the lamp's flicker a weak pulse. Vance paced, his phone buzzing, his voice low with calls to brass. "Rest," he said, tossing her a bottled water. "I'll handle the feds." She nodded, gulping the water, her mind churning. Reese's tech was slick, but she was better, wasn't she? She'd cracked Pentagon firewalls, outsmarted hackers. She could break this. Sleep took her, deep and dreamless, the rain a soft drum on the roof. Morning crept in, grey and damp, her burner buzzing at 7. Vance's text, "Stay put." Working. It. She showered, the bungalow's tepid water stinging her knee, then pulled her laptop from the duffel, its battery low but humming. Reese's burner from the SWAT call, she'd trace it, flip his game. Her fingers flew, code spilling across the screen, pinging cell towers, scraping data. By noon she had it, a number tied to a shady tech firm, Cyberpulse, a hole-in-the-wall outfit off Coral Way, known for deepfakes and dirty jobs. She dug deeper, hacking their server, her pulse racing as files unrolled. Invoices, Reese's name, a payment for voice synthesis, Monroe target. Jackpot. Could this bury him? Would it hold? She called Vance, her voice steady. Got proof? Cyberpulse did the AI, Reese paid them. Vance's growl crackled through. Sending it to the DA now, charges dropped today. Hours ticked by, her laptop whirring, the bungalow's silence a fragile shield. At 4, Vance burst in, his face grim but triumphant. DA's got it. CEO's flipping, says Reese ordered the hit. You're free. Keisha exhaled, her shoulders slumping, a rare grin breaking through. Free again, right? She'd flipped Reese's trap, his tech no match for her skill. Vance drove her back, the safe house fading in the rear view. Miami's dusk a wash of gold. She'd head to the office tomorrow, reclaim her desk, her life. The SUV dropped her at a new hideout, a condo near Brickell, its white walls stark, a borrowed couch her throne. She stepped onto the balcony, the city's pulse below, her burner buzzing with a news alert. Charges dropped in Monroe case, tech firm, implicates cop. She smiled, the weight lifting, her name clearing again. Reese was cornered, wasn't he? She'd outsmarted him, turned his lie inside out. Night settled, the condo quiet, her laptop humming as she prepped for work. She'd won this round, a fugitive no more, her flight over. Then a crack split the air, glass shattering behind her, a bullet grazing her shoulder, fire searing her flesh. She dove, blood blooming on her hoodie, the balcony railing pinging as another shot ricocheted off it. Her breath ragged, she crawled inside, the condo's floor cold, her burner skittering away. Pain throbbed, her vision blurring. The city's lights a kaleidoscope through the broken pane. She pressed her hand to the wound, red seeping through her fingers, her mind screaming. Who? How? She peeked out, spotting a shadow on a rooftop across the street, a rifle's glint vanishing into the dark. Holt, fired, disgraced but not done, his racism a sniper's scope now, his vow of pay in blood, a live wire. She fumbled for the burner, her bloody hand slipping, dialing Vance. Shot, she gasped when he answered, her voice a croak. Holt, rooftop. Vance's shout roared through. Hold on, I'm there in 5. She slumped against the wall, her shoulder a furnace, blood pooling under her, the condo a trap she'd walked into blind. Charges dropped, sure, Reese exposed, but Holt had flipped the script. His hate a bullet she hadn't dodged. She'd hacked Cyberpulse, cleared her name, thought she'd won, hadn't she? Now this, a shot from the shadows, her victory bleeding, out on the floor. Her eyes darted to the balcony, the night swallowing Holt's trail, his car probably peeling away below. How'd he find her? Who'd tipped him? She thought of the lawsuit, the mob, the fire, all dwarfed by this strike. Her, flesh the target now, not just her name. Vance's SUV screeched outside, his boots pounding up, the door bursting open. Keisha, he yelled, dropping beside her, his hands pressing her wound, blood slick on his fingers. Stay with me. Paramedics stormed in, their voices a blur stretcher wheels rattling, her body lifting as the world faded. She'd outrun the stop, the cell, the mob. But Holt's bullet had found her, his racism a sniper's precision, and Keisha knew this war had turned lethal, the stakes spiking with every drop staining the tile. Her eyes fluttered shut. Vance's. Grip her anchor, the condo's white walls blurring red, and she wondered how much more she could take, how deep this fight would cut. Keisha Monroe woke to the antiseptic sting of a hospital room, her shoulder a throbbing knot under gauze, the bullet's graze a jagged line stitched tight. The Brickell condo's shattered balcony flashed in her mind. Holt's sniper shot a burning echo, her blood still staining Vance's hands when he'd held her together. Now at 7 in the morning, she lay in a stiff bed, IV dripping into her arm, the Miami skyline a gray blur beyond the window. Vance sat beside her, his suit rumpled, his beard a wild tangle, his eyes bloodshot but fierce. You're alive, he said, his voice rough, leaning forward. Holt's gone to ground, but we've got the Cyberpulse CEO's testimony. Time to hit back. Keisha nodded, pain flaring as she shifted, her hoodie swapped for a gown, her braids spilling loose. Federal suit, she croaked, her throat dry. Holt, Reese, the precinct, all of them. Vance's grin was grim, a soldier's edge. Already in motion, Tamika's filing today. By noon, she was discharged, her arm in a sling, Vance driving her to a new hideout, a motel off Dixie Highway, its neon sign buzzing vacancy, its walls peeling paint. She sank onto a lumpy bed, the room smelling of stale smoke and bleach, her duffel dumped beside her. Tamika called, her voice a whip crack over the burner. "Keisha, it's done. Federal claim, conspiracy, profiling, attempted murder. We're dragging them into court." Keisha's chest tightened, hope sparking through the haze. Could this end it? Would they pay? Weeks blurred, her shoulder healing slow, Tamika building the case, dashcam footage, the CEO's sworn statement, ballistics tying Holt's rifle to the shot. The trial kicked off on a muggy Monday. The Miami federal courthouse, a marble beast packed with press, protesters chanting outside, their signs bobbing, "Justice for Keisha." "Cops corrupt?" She walked in, her navy suit crisp despite the sling. Tamika at her side, her dreads a crown of resolve. The courtroom buzzed, pews creaking, cameras banned, but reporters scribbling fast. Holt and Reese sat at the defense table, Holt's trucker hat swapped for a cheap suit, his bulk slouched, Reese fidgeting, his wiry frame twitching. Their lawyer, a slick guy with a widow's peak, smirked like he owned the place. Judge Elena Torres took the bench, her silver hair pulled tight, her gaze a laser cutting through the tension. "Order!" she snapped, her gavel a soft thud, the room hushing fast. Tamika opened, her voice ringing clear. "Your Honor, we'll prove officers Holt and Reese orchestrated a racist campaign against Keisha Monroe, a Pentagon official, with false arrests, tech scams, and violence, backed by a complicit precinct." Evidence rolled out. A brutal parade. The dashcam showing Keisha's compliance, Holt's bar tape bragging about the frame-up, the CEO naming Reese for the AI hit. Then Holt's rap sheet, 5 brutality complaints, all buried, typed pages slapping the table like thunderclaps. The jury, 12 faces from Miami's sprawl, leaned in, some frowning, others stone-cold. Keisha watched, her good hand clenched, her sling itching. Holt's history a gut punch she'd always known. Could they deny this? Would the jury see? Reese cracked midday, Tamika grilling him on the stand, her questions knives. "You paid Cyberpulse for that fake call, didn't you?" she pressed, her eyes locked on his. Reese squirmed, his buzz cut slick with sweat, his voice a mumble. "Yeah, I did. Holt pushed me to." Gasps rippled, Holt's glare boring into Reese, the defense lawyer's pen freezing mid-scrawl. Tamika pounced. "So you admit conspiracy?" Reese nodded, head low, his confession a crack in their wall. The judge's eyes narrowed, her pencil tapping, the room electric. Keisha's pulse raced, victory close, wasn't it? Holt's turn came, his swagger gone, his voice a growl denying everything, but Tamika's cross shredded him, playing the bar tape, his own words. "Framed her." "Good," echoing loud. He stumbled, sweat beading, the jury's stares hardening. Torres leaned forward, her voice sharp. "This court's leaning, counsel. Evidence is heavy." Keisha exhaled, Tamika squeezing her arm, the tide turning fast. Had they won? Could this stick? Then a siren wailed, piercing the courthouse, a clerk bursting in, her face pale. "Bomb threat! Evacuate now!" Chaos erupted, jurors scrambling, Holt smirking as guards rushed him out, Reese darting glances. Keisha stumbled to her feet, Tamika pulling her through the throng, her sling snagging on a pew, pain flaring as they hit the hall. Sirens screamed outside, cops swarming, the crowd spilling onto the steps, reporters shouting, "Was this planned?" "Who called it?" Keisha's mind spun, her shoulder throbbing, Vance shoving through to her side. "Holt's people," he growled, his hand on her back, guiding her to a side exit. "They're stalling." She nodded, her breath short, the trial teetering, her win dangling by a thread. Night fell, the courthouse cleared, no bomb found, just a ghost threat to rattle them. Keisha holed up in the motel, her burner buzzing. With Tamika's update, "Trial's on hold till morning, stay sharp." She paced, the lumpy bed untouched, her mind replaying Reese's crack, Holt's glare. She'd pushed them to the edge, hadn't she? Then her phone lit up, a text from an unknown number. "Check your hotel." Her stomach dropped, her good hand fumbling the blinds, peering out. Flames erupted across the lot, the motel's east. Wing ablaze, screams cutting the night, guests fleeing in pajamas. Keisha bolted, her duffel slung over her good shoulder, the heat hitting her face as she stumbled outside, smoke choking her lungs. Fire trucks roared in, hoses blasting, but her room was next, flames licking closer. A gas can glinting in the grass, its cap off reeking of Holt's hate. She ducked behind a dumpster, her sling soaked with sweat, spotting a figure in the chaos. Holt's sister, Carla, a city clerk with his jawline, tossing a match before vanishing into the crowd. Keisha's blood boiled, her phone buzzing. Vance's voice frantic. "Where are you?" She gasped out the scene, her voice a rasp. "Carla firebombed it. They're leaking my spots." Vance cursed, loud and raw. "I'm there in 10. Hide." She crouched low, the dumpster's stink cloaking. Her flames roaring, her motel a pyre. Her trial win torched in minutes. Carla's move was Holt's, wasn't it? His family striking back, his racism a flame she couldn't douse. She'd cracked Reese, nailed Holt's past, thought the jury was hers, right? Now this, a double blow, bomb threat stalling, firebomb. Hitting her safety ashes again. Sirens wailed, Vance's SUV screeching up, his door flying open. "Keisha!" he yelled, spotting her, pulling her in, the engine roaring as they peeled out, flames shrinking in the mirror. Her shoulder burned, her good hand clutching the seat, blood seeping through her stitches, the night a blur of red and black. She'd pushed them hard, sure, but Holt's kin had flipped it. Their hate a wildfire, her courtroom edge slipping through her fingers. The SUV sped north, Vance's grip tight, her hideout gone, her fight teetering, and Keisha knew this war had twisted, uglier, the stakes spiking with every crackling ember. Drop a comment with number 1 if you think Holt's family deserves the same heat he's getting, or number 2 if Keisha's courtroom grit has you rooting hard. Slam that like button if this racist retaliation has you raging, and subscribe because tomorrow's episode unleashes a betrayal you won't see coming. Who's feeding Holt's crew her every move? Can Keisha hold the line after this inferno? Buckle up, because the next twist will shake everything loose. Keisha Monroe slumped in the passenger seat of Vance's SUV, the motel fire's orange glow fading in the side mirror. Her shoulder throbbing under the sling, blood seeping through her stitches from the jostle of escape. The Miami night blurred, past humid and heavy, the Dixie Highway's neon signs flickering like dying stars. Vance's knuckles whitened on the wheel, his beard a wild snarl, his voice a low growl over the engine's hum. Carla's move means Holt's still pulling. "Strings," he said, glancing at her, his eyes sharp with worry. "We're switching hideouts, downtown loft, high security." Keisha nodded, her good hand clutching her duffel, the motel's bleach scent swapped for smoke and ash on her skin. Her navy suit was a wreck, her braids tangled, her burner phone buzzing in her lap with Tamika's update. "Trial resumes tomorrow. Carla's on camera, we've got her." Keisha's chest tightened, a spark of fight piercing the haze. Could this tip it? Would the jury bite? The loft loomed ahead, a glass tower piercing the skyline, its lobby guarded by a beefy ex-Marine who waved them up. Inside, the space was stark. White walls, a leather couch, a bed with crisp sheets, a view of Biscayne Bay glinting under moonlight. Vance locked the door, his suit jacket off, revealing a holstered pistol. "Sleep," he said, sinking into a chair, his phone buzzing with calls. "I'll watch." Keisha collapsed onto the bed, her sling itching, pain pulsing, but exhaustion dragged her under, dreams swirling with Holt's grin, Carla's match, Reese's twitch. Morning broke, sun slicing through blinds, her burner buzzing at 6, Tamika's voice a jolt. "Keisha, sting set. Carla's meeting a clerk today, bragging rights. Mic her up." Keisha sat up, her shoulders stiff, hope flaring. She met Tamika at a coffee shop off Brickell, a cramped spot with chipped mugs and salsa on the radio, swapping her suit for a grey tracksuit, her braids under a cap. Tamika slid her a mic, smaller than Holt's, wired to a recorder in her pocket. "She's at City Hall noon," Tamika said, sipping espresso, her dreads gleaming. "Play dumb. Get her talking." Keisha nodded, her pulse quickening. Plan a lifeline. Could she trap Carla? Would it seal Holt? At 11:50 she slipped into City Hall, A beige maze of cubicles and fluorescent hum, the mic taped under her sleeve, her tracksuit blending with the lunch crowd. Carla sat at a desk, her jawline Holt's echo, her fingers tapping a pen, a smirk playing as a co-worker lingered. Keisha approached, her voice low, casual. "Heard your brother's a legend, taking down that Pentagon lady." Carla's eyes lit up, her smirk widening, leaning in. "Hell yeah, I torched her motel last night, bomb threat too, she's done." Keisha's stomach twisted, rage bubbling, but she nodded, a fan's grin plastered on. "How'd you pull that?" she pressed, her heart hammering. Carla chuckled, her pen twirling. "Easy. Holt's got eyes everywhere. She won't breathe without us knowing." The recorder whirred, Carla's words a noose tightening. Tamika's sting a perfect hit. Keisha slipped out, her flat silent on the tile, texting Tamika. Nailed her. By 3, the tape hit the courthouse, Tamika playing it for Judge Torres. Carla's voice bragging loud, "I torched her motel." The trial resumed, the room packed, air thick with tension, reporters scribbling, protesters' chants seeping through walls. Keisha sat beside Tamika, her sling swapped for a brace, her navy suit back, crisp despite the ache. Torres's silver hair gleamed, her gavel a soft thud. "Proceed," she said, her gaze piercing Holt and Reese, their defense lawyer paling as the tape rolled. Jurors shifted, eyes wide, Carla's confession a bomb in their laps. Tamika stood, her voice a blade. "This proves conspiracy, Your Honor. Holt's family executed these attacks." Holt slumped, his bulk deflating, Reese's twitch worsening. His confession from yesterday now a chain. Torres nodded, her pencil tapping. "Compelling. Defense?" Their lawyer stammered, his slick fading, objections weak. "Hearsay," he tried, but Torres shut it down, her voice firm. "Overruled it stands." Keisha's breath caught, victory close, wasn't it? Tamika piled on, ballistics linking Holt's rifle, Cyberpulse's paper trail, the jury's faces hardening with every blow. Closing came fast, Tamika's final words a hammer. Holt and Reese abused power, targeted Keisha for her race, her rank. Justice demands accountability. The defense floundered, their plea a whisper, and Torres sent the jury out, her gavel a quiet clang. Hours dragged, Keisha pacing the hall, her brace chafing, Vance beside her, his phone silent. At 6, the jury filed back, their foreman, a wiry guy with glasses, standing tall. "We find Holt guilty of conspiracy, attempted murder," he read, his voice steady. "Reese guilty of fraud, conspiracy." Gasps erupted, Holt's head dropping, Reese's hands shaking, their lawyer frozen. Torres banged her gavel, her voice cutting through. "Sentencing next week." Court adjourned. Keisha exhaled, Tamika's arm around her, a rare smile breaking. Free. She'd won, hadn't she? Holt and Reese were down, the system bending her way. She stepped outside, the muggy air a balm, reporters swarming, Vance pushing them back. "Celebrate tonight," he said, his grin wide. "You earned it." She nodded, her legs shaky, the loft calling. A shower. Peace. Back at the hideout, she sank onto the couch, the bay's lights twinkling, her burner buzzing with congrats, Tamika colleagues, her mom's tearful voice on a call. She'd beaten them, right? The trial was hers, justice served. Then Vance knocked, his face ashen, stepping in slow. "Keisha," he said, his voice hollow, sliding a folder across the coffee table, its pages trembling in his grip. "I've got something." She opened it, her good hand shaking, her eyes scanning. Pentagon memos, her signature forged, Vance's retirement notice, effective yesterday, forced by brass. "They axed me for backing you," he said, his eyes dropping. "Your director. Gig's off too. Holt's uncle, Senator Grayson, pulled strings, leaked a memo tying you to a breach. It's fake, but they're running with it." Keisha's stomach plummeted, the room spinning, her brace a vice on her arm. "What?" she whispered, flipping pages, Grayson's name glaring, a state senator with Holt's nose, his power a sledgehammer. "He's ending you," Vance said, his voice cracking, a rare break in his steel. "I fought, but they've got pull." Keisha's chest burned, tears stinging, her victory ashes in her mouth. She'd won the trial, hadn't she? Holt and Reese guilty, Carla's tape her sword. The jury hers. Now this, Vance gone, her career gutted, Grayson's racist claws snatching it all. Protesters' cheers echoed outside, oblivious, news vans buzzing with her win. But inside the loft's white walls closed in, her breath a rasp. How had Grayson moved so fast? Who'd forged her name? She thought of the mob, the firebomb. All dwarfed by this betrayal, Vance her rock now rubble, her promotion a ghost. She'd stung Holt, cracked Reese, but Grayson flipped it. His hate a political guillotine, her life teetering again. Vance sank beside her, his hand on her shoulder, blood still staining his cuff from the sniper night, his voice low. "We'll fight this too." She nodded, her good fist clenching, fury drowning the shock, the stakes spiking with every forged line, her war twisting darker still. Keisha Munro sat rigid on the loft's leather couch, the Miami skyline a muted glow beyond the glass, her good hand clutching Vance's damning folder, her shoulder brace a tight ache under her torn navy suit. The courtroom win, Holt and Reese. Guilty, Carla's tape her spear. Crumbled under Senator Grayson's forged memo, Vance's forced retirement, her director gig axed. The burner phone lay silent beside her, its cracked screen a mirror to her fractured world, the air thick with betrayal's bitter tang. Vance paced, his boots scuffing the hardwood, his beard wild, his pistol glinting at his hip. "Grayson's Holt's uncle," he said, his voice a rasp, stopping to face her, his eyes hollow. "He's got juice, Keisha. State Senate, old money. This ain't over." She nodded, her chest a furnace, fury licking at the shock. "He's burying me for winning," she said, flipping the folder shut, her good fist trembling. "I'll expose him." Vance's jaw tightened, a soldier's edge sharpening. "Risky, but I'm in. We go public." By midnight, she'd hacked Grayson's campaign site from her laptop, its battery wheezing, her fingers flying over keys, code slicing through weak security. She found emails, vague but damning. "Handle the Monroe problem," sent to a precinct chief, time-stamped post-trial. She packaged it, her shoulder throbbing, and Vance drove her to a news station at dawn, WSVN studio, a squat box off Biscayne, its lights buzzing alive. A producer, a wiry guy with a goatee, met them in a cluttered office, his eyes widening. At her brace Vance's glare. "This real?" he asked, scanning the printouts, Grayson's name glaring. Keisha's voice was steel. "Check the metadata. It's him." By 8 she stood in a studio, light searing her face, a mic clipped to her collar, her tracksuit swapped back for the navy suit, patched but proud. The anchor, a woman with sleek hair and sharp eyes, leaned in. "Miss Monroe, you're live. Tell us." Keisha exhaled, her good hand steady, her words a blade. "Senator Grayson rigged a smear against me, faked a Pentagon breach, forced Colonel Vance out, all to shield his nephew, Holt, after I won in court. Here's proof." The screen split, emails scrolling, her voice steady despite the ache. Miami watching, the world tuning in. Grayson's allies scrambled, aides dodging cameras outside his Coral Gables mansion. But the story blew up. Hashtag spiking. "Justice for Keisha." Grayson exposed. By noon, her clearance pinged back online. Pentagon brass backtracking. A curt email, reinstated pending review. Vance grinned, rare and wide, slapping her good shoulder. "You flipped it, kid." Keisha nodded, her breath easing. The loft's white walls less a cage now. She'd won again, hadn't she? Grayson's grip slipped, her name clearing once more. She returned to the field office at 2, her badge swiping her in, colleagues nodding this time, whispers of respect trailing her. Her cubicle waited, files, stacked, her monitor alive, a lifeline reclaimed. Could this hold? Would Grayson fold? She sank into work, code flowing, her shoulder a dull ache, the day blurring into dusk. At 6, she stepped outside, the humid air a balm, her ride idling, a black sedan Vance had sent. Its driver, a quiet ex-cop. Home called, the loft, a shower, rest. Then shouts erupted, a crowd surging from the parking lot, 30 strong, faces twisted with rage, signs swinging, "Liar! Traitor!" Keisha froze, her pulse spiking, the driver yelling, "Get in!" She dove for the door, her brace snagging the seat, pain flaring as rocks flew, one cracking the windshield, glass spiderwebbing. The sedan lurched, tires squealing, but the mob swarmed, fists pounding the hood. A woman in a red hat screaming, "She framed Grayson!" Keisha's stomach twisted, her good hand gripping the armrest, the driver cursing as he floored it, parting the sea of hate. "Who are they?" she gasped, her voice tight, ducking as a bottle shattered against the rear window. "The drivers," eyes flicked to her, grim. "Grayson's cash. Paid protesters." The sedan broke free, speeding downtown, her breath ragged, the loft's safety a lifeline. She stumbled inside, locking the door, her burner buzzing with a news alert. "Pentagon, official accused of data breach, protests erupt." Her laptop flared, a leaked memo, her signature fake again, claiming she'd sold secrets, timestamps clashing with her trial dates, sloppy but loud. Grayson's play, a smear to drown her live exposé. She called Vance, her voice a rasp. "She's hitting back, Colonel. Fake breach, mob outside." Vance's growl cut through. "I'm there, hold tight." Minutes dragged, the loft's silence a trap, her mind racing. Evidence cleared her, right? The emails, the hack, her live. Shot. They'd see through this, wouldn't they? Then a roar split the night, flames licking up outside, her sedan ablaze in the lot below, tires melting, glass popping, the mob cheering from a distance, red hats bobbing. Keisha stumbled to the window, smoke curling skyward, her breath hitching, the driver's silhouette sprinting away, unharmed, but shaken. Her good hand pressed the glass, her brace a weight, fury surging past the fear. Grayson's cash had torched. Her ride. His lie a match to their rage, her clearance win ashes in minutes. She grabbed her burner, dialing Tamika, her voice cracking. "They burned my car, Grayson's protesters." Tamika's reply was sharp. "On it, feds'll trace the money." Vance burst in, his pistol out, his face a storm. "Keisha, you—" "Good?" he barked, checking the window. The fire's glow painting his beard red. She nodded. Her good fist clenched, blood seeping through her stitches again. The loft a bunker now. "He's not stopping," she said, her voice low, the folder's forged memo flashing in her skull. Vance sank beside her, his hand on her good shoulder, steadying her. "We've got the emails. Feds are sniffing his accounts. He's slipping." Keisha exhaled, her chest tight. The car's blaze a beacon of Grayson's hate, his racism a mob's fist, her victory gutted again. She'd gone live, exposed him. Thought she'd won, hadn't she? Now this, protesters paid to scream, a fake breach to bury her, her sedan a charred husk. Sirens wailed, fire trucks rolling in, hoses blasting, but the crowd lingered, their chants a wall. "Lock her up." "Grayson's right." Her laptop pinged, a Pentagon email. "Clearance under review." Again. Her stomach sank. Grayson's pull a noose tightening, his allies clawing back her win. How'd he rally them so fast? Who'd faked this memo? She thought of Holt's trial, Carla's fire, all dwarfed by this political strike, her career teetering, her fight twisting uglier. Vance's grip tightened, his voice a growl. "We'll hit harder." She nodded, her good hand wiping sweat, the stakes spiking with every flame, her war a furnace she couldn't escape, Grayson's shadow looming larger still. Keisha Monroe stood by the loft's floor-to-ceiling window, the Miami night a restless sea of lights below. Her sedan's charred husk still smoldering in the lot, acrid smoke curling up past the glass. The paid protesters had scattered, their red hats fading into the dark, leaving fire trucks to douse the wreckage, hoses hissing against melted rubber. Her good hand pressed the pain, her brace a tight ache, blood seeping through her stitches from the jostle of fleeing Grayson's mob. Vance paced behind her, his boots thudding the hardwood, his pistol holstered but ready, his beard a wild snarl under the loft's dim glow. "Grayson's desperate," he said, stopping to face her, his voice a low rumble, eyes glinting with soldier's grit. "That car stunt means he's bleeding allies. We've got his emails, time to finish him." Keisha nodded, her chest a furnace, fury drowning the exhaustion. "I'll hack deeper," she said, her good fist clenching, her navy suit streaked. "So with soot. Bank accounts, payments, all of it. Vance's jaw tightened, a rare spark in his hollow gaze. "Do it. I'll cover you." She sank onto the couch, her laptop humming alive, its screen a lifeline in the chaos, her fingers dancing over keys despite the shoulder's throb. Grayson's campaign site was child's play, but his finances hid behind layers, offshore accounts. With passwords she cracked by midnight, her code slicing through like a blade. She found gold, wire transfers to Holt, 50 grand post-trial tagged consulting, another 10 to Cyberpulse for services, timestamps syncing with her attacks. Her breath quickened, the stakes clear. Could this bury him? Would the feds bite? She bundled the files, her burner buzzing as she sent them to Tamika, her voice steady over the line. Grayson's money trail, Holt, Cyberpulse, all linked. Tamika's reply crackled sharp. "FBI's next. They'll raid him." By dawn. Keisha leaned back, the couch creaking, her eyes on the bay's glint, hope flickering through the haze. Grayson's empire teetered, didn't it? She'd exposed him live, now this, his cash a noose tightening. By 3, news broke, her burner, lighting up with alerts. Senator Grayson indicted, fraud and conspiracy. Helicopters buzzing over his Coral Gables mansion, footage of cuffs snapping on his wrists, his tailored suit rumpled, his face a mask of shock. The mob's chants. Died, their cash cut off, her name clearing again. Headlines flipping. Monroe vindicated, Senator's plot unraveled. Vance grinned, slapping the couch arm, his voice a bark. "You did it, Keisha." She nodded, her good hand wiping sweat, the loft's white walls less a prison now. At 8, Pentagon brass called, a crisp voice over speaker. "Clearance permanent, director role yours, effective now." Keisha's chest loosened, a rare smile tugging her lips, her brace a badge of survival. She'd won, hadn't she? Grayson jailed, Holt and Reese down, her career soaring. She moved to a new apartment that day, a high-rise in downtown Miami. Its steel frame a fortress, her belongings sparse but hers. A new couch, grey and firm, a coffee mug with no chips, a view of the city she'd reclaimed. She stood by the window, the sun climbing, her navy suit swapped for jeans, her shoulder healing slow but sure. The field office buzzed with her return, colleagues clapping as she walked in, her badge gleaming, her cubicle upgraded to an office, glass walls framing her new rank. She'd beaten the stop, the fire, the sniper, Grayson's smear, all of it, right? The day blurred into meetings, her voice steady briefing brass, her code sharper than ever, Miami PD's reforms a ripple from her fight. Dusk settled, the high-rise, quiet, her laptop humming as she prepped for tomorrow. A cybersecurity push she'd dreamed up years ago. She'd stood firm, turned their hate to dust, her life hers again. Then a whine pierced the silence, a high-pitched buzz growing loud, her window rattling as a drone crashed through, glass exploding inward, shards slicing the air. Keisha dove, her good arm shielding her face, pain flaring as debris grazed her cheek. The drone slamming the floor, its blades spinning wild, a red light blinking fast. She crawled behind the couch, her breath ragged, blood trickling down her neck. The room a haze of dust and glass. A note dangled from the wreck, scorched but legible. "Never safe," scrawled in Holt's blocky hand, a racist taunt from a man she'd buried. Her mind spun, her brace snagging the carpet, her good hand fumbling for her burner, dialing Vance. "Drone hit my place?" she gasped, her voice a croak, glass crunching under her knees. "Holt's note." Vance's shout roared through. "Stay down, I'm there." She peeked out, the drone's blade slowing, its frame mangled, a camera lens glinting, recording her ruin. Holt, on the run, fugitive but feral, had wired this. His hate a final claw from the shadows. Sirens wailed below, Vance's SUV screeching up, his boots pounding the stairs, the door bursting open. "Keisha!" he yelled, dropping beside her, his hands checking her cuts, blood smearing his cuffs. "Again, you're okay?" She nodded. Her good fist clenched, fury surging past the pain, paramedics storming in, their voices a blur as they patched her cheek, her shoulder throbbing anew. She'd taken Grayson, hadn't she? Jailed him, reclaimed her rank, thought Holt. Was a ghost. Now this. A drone through her window. His racism a bomb she couldn't disarm. Vance pulled the note free, his face darkening, his pistol out as he scanned the skyline. "He's hiding," he said, his voice low, steadying her. "Feds'll hunt him." Keisha stood, glass falling from her jeans, her good hand wiping blood, the high-rise a battlefield now, her win a mirage again. She'd hacked his cash, flipped. His uncle risen higher, sure, but Holt's strike was personal. A promise of more, her safety a lie shattered with every shard. The paramedics left. Vance barricading the window with a board, his eyes on her, fierce but frayed. "We'll get him," he said, his hand on her good shoulder, grounding her. She nodded, her chest tight, the stakes spiking with every buzz. Of that drone, her war twisting lethal again, Holt's shadow a spectre she couldn't shake. Keisha Monroe crouched behind the grey couch in her downtown Miami high-rise, glass shards glinting on the hardwood, the drone's mangled frame smoking where it had crashed through her window, its blades stilled, its red light dead. Blood trickled down her cheek from a fresh graze, her shoulder throbbing under the brace, the sting of Holt's note, "Never safe," burning in her skull. The high-rise's silence was a trap, the city's hum muffled beyond the boarded window Vance had rigged, his boots scuffing as he paced, his pistol gripped tight, his beard a wild shadow in the dim light. "Holt's a ghost now," he said, his voice a low growl, holstering the gun, his eyes flicking to her. "Feds'll track him. You're safe here." Keisha stood, her good hand wiping blood, her jeans crunching glass, fury surging past the pain. "He's not done," she said, her voice steel, snatching her burner from the floor, its screen cracked but alive. "I'll find him." Vance nodded, his jaw tight, a soldier's edge in his slump. "I'll tip the feds. Give me his—" "Out!" She handed it over, her good fist clenching, the high-rise a fortress she'd reclaim. By midnight she'd hacked traffic cams from her laptop, its hum a lifeline, her fingers flying despite the shoulder's ache, tracing Holt's last known ride, a beat-up pickup spotted near Opaloka. She pinned it, a shack off the grid, and texted Vance, "Got him 1432 NW 87th. His reply buzzed fast, "Feds raid at dawn, rest now." She sank onto the couch, her brace itching, sleep tugging, the city's glow a faint promise beyond the board. Dawn broke, sirens wailing below, her burner buzzing with news. Holt nabbed in hideout, drone tech seized. She exhaled, her chest loosening, footage rolling of him cuffed, his trucker hat gone, his bulk slouched in defeat. Grayson's indictment held, his mansion seized, the senator jailed, his cash empire dust. Keisha's lips twitched, a rare grin breaking free. She'd won, hadn't she? Holt down, Grayson locked, her director role hers. The field office buzzed that day, her badge swiping her into the glass-walled office, colleagues nodding respect. Her navy suit patched but proud, her shoulder healing slow. She briefed brass, her voice steady, pushing Miami PD reforms, her fight rippling outward, a policy memo stamped with her name. Dusk settled, the high-rise quiet, her new couch firm under her, a mug steaming on the table, the city hers again. She'd beaten the stop, the fire, the sniper, the drone. All of it, right? Then a knock rattled the door, soft but sharp. Vance's. Silhouette in the hall, his suit crisp, a folder under his arm. She let him in, her good hand loose, the air shifting as he stepped close, his eyes hollow, his beard trimmed tight. "Keisha," he said, his voice low, sliding the folder onto the table, its pages thick, edges worn. "One last thing." She opened it, her pulse quickening, her good hand flipping sheets, Pentagon logs, her hacked memos, Grayson's payments, all familiar. Then a new page, Vance's signature, a memo dated pre-trial. "Test Monroe's resilience. Stage pressure, report to brass." Her stomach plummeted, the room tilting, her breath a rasp. "What's this?" she whispered, her eyes locking on his, betrayal's blade twisting deep. Vance sank into a chair, his hands clasped, his voice a murmur. "I faked my retirement, Keisha. Brass wanted you hardened, a secret op to vet you for director. I fed Holt intel, pushed Grayson, staged it all." Keisha's chest burned, her good fist slamming the table, the mug toppling, coffee pooling dark. "You," she hissed, her voice cracking, standing fast, her brace a vice. The stop, the fire, the shot, all you? Vance's eyes dropped, his shoulders slumping, a crack in his steel. Not the violence, Holt took it too far, Grayson too, I just steered them, watched you fight. You passed. Her mind spun, the stop's cuffs, the Molotov's roar, the sniper's sting, all orchestrated. Vance her puppet master, her rock a lie. She'd hacked Grayson, nailed Holt, thought she'd won, hadn't she? Now this. Her mentor's hand in every blow, her career a test she'd bled for. Passed? She snapped, stepping close, her good hand trembling, fury drowning the hurt. You let them burn me, shoot me for a game? Vance stood, his height looming, his voice steady despite the break. Not a game. A crucible. Brass needed a leader, unbreakable. You're it. She laughed, harsh and raw, her good fist shoving the folder, pages scattering, her eyes stinging with tears she wouldn't shed. Unbreakable. I'm scarred, Vance. You broke me to prove it. He flinched, his hand reaching, then falling, blood still faint on his cuff from the sniper night. A lie she'd clung to. I fought for you, he said, his voice cracking, stepping back. Every step I kept you alive. Keisha's breath heaved, her good hand wiping her cheek, blood and coffee mixing, the high-rise a cage again. She'd traced Holt, tipped. The feds risen to direct her, sure, but Vance's memo rewrote it all, her victories, his script, her pain, his ink. Alive? She spat, her voice low, deadly. You fed me to wolves. He nodded, slow and heavy, pulling a note from his pocket. Its edges creased, sliding it across. My last move, he said, turning to the door, his boots slow. I'm gone now, you're free. She snatched it, her good hand shaking, unfolding it. You passed. Lead well. The door clicked shut, Vance vanishing, his SUV's rumble, fading below, her mentor a ghost she'd never unsee. She sank onto the couch, the note crumpling in her fist, her brace a weight, the city's glow mocking her through the board. Holt nabbed, Grayson jailed, PD reforming, her director badge gleaming. All real, all hers, right? But Vance's twist gutted it, his test, a shadow on every win, her scars his tally. She stood, her good hand steadying her, the folders, pages a mess she'd burn later, her laptop humming, a lifeline still. She'd lead, wouldn't she? Take the Pentagon, shape it, her fight now hers alone. The high-rise settled, the mug's spill drying, her breath easing, fury hardening into resolve, her war won but rewritten, the stakes hers to redefine. Vance's echo a scar she'd carry always.